Love Songs of Krishna, a journey from Kavya to Kalam. It was a spiritual Indian morning, and as the first rays of the sun touched the earth, the lotus responded by opening its petals. Birds in couples sang their morning prayer. Bees went from flower to flower in search of love messages, and the environment was fragrant with amorous southern winds. The winding clovine whispered words of love. The koel sang the longing notes of the fifth, and it seemed that all of nature was charged with shringara. A poet sitting under the kadamba tree spoke, "Krishna Swayam Kavyam." Krishna is poetry. Nay, nature shringara is the agamana of Krishna. And thus began a beautiful legacy of Krishna Shringara Kavya, the love songs of Krishna. The rasa of Krishna Shringara arises in the mystic spaces of the mind, where words and lyrics, melody and music are heard, and these become Kavya. When a painter hears these, he creates lines that dance and sing, and paints words with colors of love, and thus a beautiful painting is created, which speaks of romantic moments with Krishna, and from which arise honeyed notes of the flute. For Krishna poets, it is the mere thought of Krishna that is transformed into poetry. Words of his beautiful form arise in the mind and quickly become evocative. At the mere thought of Krishna, the words begin to dance. When the color Ghanashyam comes to mind, it is as if the words are drenched with rasa. When the pitambar flutters in the mind's eye as Krishna dances, the words acquire a rhythm, and when finally the sound of the flute is heard, the words become a song and begin to move. And once Krishna poetry is formed, poet like Bihari will ask that the image of Krishna thus created never leave his mind. Another poet likes it to a fragrant flower as its aroma spreads and rasikas gather around it like bees to the lotus. Or yet another poet like Bhanudatta will ensure that Krishna Kavya becomes a karnafula, an ornament for the ear, forever adorning those of us who adore Krishna. The mere words of Krishna poetry, as Bihari says, are stronger than arrows, for they may appear small, but they pierce the heart. And when Krishna poetry is sung aloud, in front of the cognoscenti, it is transformed into a dance, and painters are inspired to dip their kalam into their paint and create a Krishna painting. Krishna Shringara is primal, even timeless, and before the advent of time, as Shringar Bhava is the first silken thread that binds us to one another and to the world around us. But it was in the Bhagavad Puran that Shringar Bhav becomes Shringar Ras. In other words, it is given an artistic and textual presence. As Shukdev ji narrates the story of Krishna to King Parikshit, the love songs of Krishna start a journey of 1,000 years. As Krishna dances in Vrindavan and the notes of Venu Geet are heard, the gopis respond by giving their hearts to Krishna. It becomes clear that Krishna Shringar Kavya is nothing but Brahmagnana, transcendent wisdom.
Iti Venuravam Rajan Sarvabhuta Manoharam.
Krishna's presence is sensually robust, but points incessantly to something beyond it. The mellifluous notes of Krishna's flute become words, and as these words touch the gopis and the cows, the birds and the blossoms, there is pranaya nritya everywhere, and all of Vrindavan dances in ecstasy. The Venu Geet of the Bhagavad brings Krishna to Vrindavan, dancing and frolicking, playing his flute, looking like a natwar, an actor, spreading love everywhere. Gopis and cows, the waters of the Yamuna, and birds in the sky are in rapture as they are touched by this love.
गोप्यो हि गोविन्दे गतवाक्कायमानसा कृष्णदूते समायते उद्भवे त्यक्तलौकिकाः
It is in the Uddhav Gita that the love of Krishna moves from Shringar to Shringar Bhakti, from Sakar to Nirakar, from Dvaita to Shuddha Dvaita. The gopis teach the true meaning of Krishna's love, and Uddhava, an emissary of Krishna, who came to teach the lessons of Advaita, goes back learning the beautiful Shuddha Advaita, where Krishna is everywhere, but only to those who understand his love. After the Bhagavad, Krishna Shringar takes two different journeys. Within a couple of 100 years, Jayadev composes the beautiful Gita Govinda, and this was to become a landmark in Krishna Shringar. Jayadev introduces Radha as Krishna's main beloved, and Krishna Shringar from now on moves from Advaita to Dvaita. One Ashtapati after another, Jayadev uses color and sound, dance and movement, longing and belonging to show every nuance of Shringar between Krishna and Radha. Radha emerges as Krishna's Ladini Shakti, and as the Gita Govinda ends, Radha sings
Guru Yadunandana Chandana Shishira Karina Payo
Of all the Krishna poets, the Ashtachhap Kavis are unique, dedicated to Krishna as Srinathji. They were inducted initially by Vallabhacharya and then by Vittalnathji in the service of Krishna. The 8 poets were allotted the Ashtaprahars, or the 8 watches of the day, and sitting in the Nijagraha or the sanctum, their voices resonated in the entire Haveli, and the congregation joined them. Surdas was the foremost of the 8, and he recreated the Leelas and Kridas of Krishna from the Dashama Skanda, and created many new situations of the amorous sports of Krishna, like the Dana Leela. The initial songs of Surdas were inspired by Vallabhacharya, but in his later songs, we see the distinct influence of Vittaldas. Singing in Braj Bhasha, Surdas created a unique type of poetry, where the young Krishna comes alive and he does not remain a distant deity, but becomes a cherished friend. His songs spread all over the Hindi belt, and especially in Mewar, where Rajasthani artists created evocative paintings and pitchwise. Narsi Mehta, who is touched both by the Bhagavad and the Gita Govind, sings
Vaishnava Jana to Tenere kahiye je Krishna Swarup ne jaane re.
Narsi's world is the idyllic Vrindavan, where there is forever spring, where every tree is a kalpavruksha, where gopis play amorously with Krishna under the kadamba tree, and the flute of Krishna animates the parrot and the peacock, the lata and the vruksh, and Vasanta has painted the world red, and there is joyous abandon everywhere. The love songs of Narsi resonate in every Gujarati home even today. It is the 15th century, and in Mithila, modern-day Bihar, a poet sings of Krishna and Radha in the honeyed notes of Maithili. This was Vidyapati, who was a Radha Bhakta, and he valorized her as the perfect Nayika, and through her reached the women of Bihar. He founded no sect and laid down no dogmatic creed, but his worldview was shaped by the love of Radha and Krishna. To be a witness to the eternal love of Radha and Krishna was his constant longing. Bhanudatta moved Sanskrit Krishna Shringar Kavya to another level when he introduces the concept of Nayak, Nayika Bhed, or the many types of the romantic hero and the heroine in his Rasa Manjari. For Shringar is not a single colored emotion, but it is a tapestry of many threads and a symphony of different ragas. At one level, it is total dedication and surrender of one to another, till they blend seamlessly, where all colors blend into one. But at another more human level, there is anger and jealousy, uncertainty and anxiety, pains and pangs about tender feelings of love. Bhanudatta creates many taxonomies and passes Shringar through a prism so that Shringar does not remain a single ray of love but gets refracted into his many colors. But then when the many colors are those of Krishna Shringar, they all merge into the color of Ghanashyam. Bhanudatta was patronized especially in the Basholi court, and his Rasa Manjari was the most popular poetic text to be illustrated. Shringar is tied to the seasons, even as romantic love is colored by its sounds and songs. Of all the seasons, it is Vasanta and Varsha that send ripples of love and waves of desire. Baramasa poetry or songs of the 12 months arose from the Chaumasa songs or the songs of the rainy season of the village women who were bemoaning the absent husband. Keshav Das artfully connects the seasons into feelings of the Nayika, who is unable to bear its colors and aromas, its sounds and songs without her beloved, and beseeches him not to live in this season. Baramasa poetry thus celebrates not only the seasons but suggests that the rasa that flows through the Nayika resonates with the sap of the trees and the blossoms, and that human love is tied to the fertility and fecundity of the world of nature, so that when a creeper winds around the trunk of a tree or two birds take shelter on a branch, they remind us of the Nayika and the Nayak, and as an undercurrent of this is the perennial love of Radha and Krishna. If you felt that the love songs of Krishna were limited to Vaishnavas, you were wrong. It was in Braj, its bhasha and culture, the world of Krishna Leela opened its doors far and wide for everyone to enter and partake the joys of playing and romancing with Krishna. Women and children, Hindus and Muslims, foreigners and Firangis were touched by the many amorous sports of Krishna. One such poet was Ras Khan, an Afghan by birth. Ras Khan in the 16th century settled in Mathura and was quickly attracted to the Shringara of Krishna. Ras Khan captures in poetry the sweet credas of Krishna, his mellifluous presence in Vrindavan, and in keeping with the Pushtimag Sampradayas, invokes the grace of Krishna, not only for himself, but also for those of us who celebrate his poetry.
दो मलिक होते सुन्यो, पैवह प्रेम नाही, होई जब द्वैतन हुइक, सोई प्रेम कहाई, सोई प्रेम कहाई, सोई प्रेम कहाई.
It is now the 19th century and we are in Awadh, and where when we walk the streets of Lucknow, even today, the love songs of Krishna are heard, along with the footsteps of Kathak dancers. Here was a poet who was a Muslim Vaishnava who wrote moving love songs of Krishna, and while remaining Muslim through the day, converted his kingdom into Vrindavan at night. And the poet was Nawab Wajid Ali Shah.
नीर भरना कैसे जाओ सखी अब, नीर भरना कैसे जाओ सखी अब, डगर चलत मोसे करत रारब.
Wajid Ali Shah's exuberance for the celebration of Krishna Leela spilled over to the streets of Lucknow, where the singing of thumris and the gathering of poets were commonplace, and the sounds of this could be heard till late into the night, as people would gather in narrow streets savoring culinary delights. This was the birth of the Ganga Jamna Tehzeeb. We end with a poet of our times who said, "Ami Kavi," and who saw the world as a poet, and that Kavi was Rabindranath Tagore. A young Rabindra was inspired both by the bowls of Bengal and the Padavali of Vidyapati, and he wrote Bhanu Shinge Padavali in Brajbuli, a language that combined the lyrical Maithili and the sonorous Bengali. In celebrating the love of Radha and Krishna, Rabindra clearly shows the Vaishnava influence on him. In Bhanu Shinge, he asserts that the human and the divine had a seamless connection through love. Shringara was the golden bridge between us and Krishna. Tagore believed that only human love was the doorway to the divine, but that this love was played out in the beauty and grandeur of the world of nature.
गहन कुसुम कुंज माझ मृदुल मधुर वंशी बाज बिसरी त्रास लोक लाज सजनिया आओ लो गहन कुसुम कुंज माझ मृदुल मधुर वंशी बाज बिसरी त्रास लोक लाज सजनिया आओ लो गहन कुसुम कुंज माझे.
Kavya is only one bank of the Krishna Shringar. The other bank is the transformation of Kavya into Chitra. A need was felt to transform Shravya into Drashya, or the oral into the visual, and this was to happen through dance, sculpture and painting. And among the visual arts, it was painting that was to embark on that beautiful journey that would do justice to the many colors of Shringar. The artist had to evolve a visual language that could transcend intellectuality, shun rational order, treat the pictorial space not with rules of artistic perspective so important to non-Hindu patrons and their painters, but as spaces of the mind, to use colors not merely to decorate but to evoke emotions, and employ lines not just to create forms, but to give these forms a lyrical movement, to create faces that not only reflected pomp and power, but that were alive with feelings of love and longing, and with eyes that speak not the language of lust, but of tender love, and set them in a landscape that resonated with the rich echoes of love. A landscape in which the sap that flowed through the Nayak and the Nayika was no different from that which animated the birds and the blossoms, or the opulence of a haveli or a court where courtly love could shine. The Rajput Vaishnava patrons, when not at war, asserted their Vaishnava identity by sponsoring Krishna painting in their ateliers. Painters in Rajasthan used bright colors, beautiful architecture, and colorful textiles, while artists in the Pahadi region used muted colors and created a landscape which was idyllic, and the Nayak and the Nayika and Krishna and Radha of patrician elegance. And it has been a wonderful journey of the love songs of Krishna and his transformation from Kavya to Chitra. Thank you for your company, and may the many splendid Krishna Shringar always be with you. May it color your mind and beautify your feelings, so that the flute of Krishna will invite us to partake of his love, and that will always resonate within you, within you, within you.